You were saying that Dallas has a few more weeks of shooting, right? A little over halfway.
There's a lot. We still
Okay.
have half a season left. So today is their last day in Texas shooting, and then in a week he goes to Utah, and he'll have to finish out the season in Utah.
Oh, wow. How does that, how does his, well, I guess, having filmed 2 seasons now in Texas, how has that changed dynamics? What's the family like when he goes to work and then comes back and then
Yeah.
maybe comes back every night or weekends? I don't know how that works. And then when he leaves for extended periods, him leaving, his reentry, like how's all of that?
Messy. We're getting better at it. And you used a word, his re-entering. We call it re-entry.
Okay.
We've always really struggled with re-entry. So when he used to shoot and he'd be away for a couple of months and we would visit, when we could, that was really hard because I would be in kind of a rhythm with the kids and then he would kind of come back in and mess up the rhythm. Which of course, because you have to have a rhythm altogether, right? And so you have this kind of rocky reentry. And we did that very poorly for a lot of years. And then we started to get more intentional about that and to say, okay, rather than reacting to these moments, why don't we have conversations ahead of time and go, okay, what doesn't work for us upon reentry? What are you expecting? What are you needing? So we got really intentional about that. And so reentry got easier and we kind of mastered that. And then we moved to where he's down the street every day, coming back at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 1 a.m. In out is much of a challenge and presents different, issues than being away for a couple of months. So now we're having to figure that out and go, okay, how are we going to make this work? And what's bothering, trying to be intentional is what we've learned. But it's also really good because we see his face and, when he's off at a decent time, which is like 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. usually, then we can actually sit down and talk about the day or kids can show him something or, so that's good. And they're older. So a lot of them are having their own social thing or they'll be out and dad comes home and he's like, where are the kids? It's like, oh, they had plans. So it's a funny reversal sometimes. So doing both in one season is, I don't know, that's new. So now he's been in and out and then he's going to go and it's like all of our skills we're going to need to bring to bear on how this all works. But for the most part, we try to remain very intentional. So we avoid, the frustrations that just inevitably come. They just do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it will be interesting because as your kids are getting older, I'm assuming, I mean, in my experience with my 2 college kids, there's a lot less active parenting going on and a lot more just real relationship development. So that looks different. So the burden on the mom is different, isn't it? So that'll be interesting to see how you go through that season with your kids as your friends. We were talking before we hit record that our kids are becoming our friends when they grow into adulthood, and that's a fun season. So maybe I'm praying that over the next few weeks, as Dallas is gone, you get to experience the friendship with your children in fresh new ways, and that he misses out, and then he gets to catch up on them when he gets home.
Yeah. Yeah, and we are really intentional about when we're all going to be together, what are we going to, do? How are we going to spend that time? But no, it is really different having older kids that don't require the physical labor of young ones. I've got a couple of friends whose husbands also work on the show and they still have littles, and I have a lot of compassion for that because just the physical picking up, down, bath time, bedtime, all those things, doing that always by yourself, I think is harder, honestly. So that the kids are older, we're like, okay, we have a week. What are we going to go do? And where are we going to go shop? Or what are we going to go see or hike or whatever? All that is really fun. And then God's really been impressing on me in this time that my job is to grow those relationships, and disciple is the word that he's been using. Like, your job is to disciple them. Like that's your job. And that's a good job. like, it's hard sometimes, but it's a really good job, and it's a meaningful job, and there's so much purpose in it. So that's been interesting too, as they've gotten into this next season, to go, okay, you're not their physical keeper as much as you are now my friend calls it their consultant. I'm probably a little more controlling than my friend. I don't love consultant. I like overseer, but something in there. Yeah. But it's been neat to transition into this season, and easier in film life to have older kids for sure.
And now, a brief message from Gospel Spice.
Do you have an idea for a podcast but don't know where to start? Take our Podcasting 101 course with Stephanie Roussel, who shares with you her knowledge and tips to take your podcast from concept to reality. This 3-hour webinar is extremely practical and hands-on, providing you with the information that you'll need to start a podcast in just 30 days. Plus, the fee for this course is invested back to Gospel Spice. It's like your money gets multiplied. You get top-notch coaching while helping us spread the gospel. Go to gospelspice.com/podcasting for the details.